Welcome to our special monthly installment, Inside Justice, with the Onondaga County District Attorney Bill Fitzpatrick. We're talking initially tonight about the case we've had in the news all week now, the man who's accused of leaving the scene of a crash, Glenn Carr, town of Clay, Sunday night with his cousin in the car who passed away, was dead on the scene. And witnesses on the scene say Mr. Carr said that he was drunk there, but then he disappeared for a couple of days. And now we're here to talk to the district attorney about how is your office looking at this case in terms of the investigation, and how do you prove such a case when you don't have the person involved for a couple of days?
Yeah, I mean, here's what the Sheriff's Department has been doing for the last several days, as I think Sheriff Walsh has alluded to. They're going to try to put together a circumstantial case, or what we call common law proof, that Mr. Carr was intoxicated, and that ups the ante considerably. That makes him potentially eligible for up to 25 years in state prison because of his prior record. And we'll do that the way you prove other things. You can prove a person is mentally ill, you can prove a person was extremely emotionally disturbed, and you can prove a person was intoxicated without their breath or their blood. And keep in mind, Mr. Carr is presumed innocent, but by fleeing the scene, that's what we call consciousness of guilt. Why would you possibly flee the scene if there wasn't that incredibly important piece of evidence that you had within your own body that you didn't want the police to get?
What else do you need? Do you need witnesses? Do you need people who were with him that night?
Sure.
Do you need to go to a bar and find a tab?
Sure. What did he go to a bar? How much alcohol did he have to consume? How many people did he drink with? What was his level of drinking? What is the BAC of the deceased, God rest his soul? What were the circumstances of the accident? Why did this crash occur? So what did the defendant say immediately upon exiting the car? I mean, did he say, "Oh my God, I almost hit a deer," or did he say something quite different than that? So those things will all be put together before a grand jury, and at some point before a trial jury, and they'll make the determination.
And part of the story certainly has been his multiple arrests over time, his 3 times in state prison.
Right.
But does any of that actually affect his offense from this week?
His previous driving history does, because it raises the, if it turns out to be a vehicular homicide, it raises it from a C to a B. His other offenses will, in all likelihood, not be known to a trial jury.
Have you had a chance to speak with the sheriff? What was Glenn Carr like when he walked into the sheriff's office last night? Do we have any sort of, in terms of his mind frame, was he feeling guilty?
I spoke to my assistant DA who was handling the arraignment, and his reaction was that he was very stoic. He spoke clearly, didn't have a lot to say. You wouldn't expect him to have a lot to say. He's represented by counsel, so we can't question him. And we'll give him an opportunity, should he so desire, to testify in front of the grand jury, obviously.
In terms of lessons for the community on this particular case, we've seen some people, whether it's posting on social media, saying, "Hey, this could have happened to anybody," type of thing.
Well, yeah.
What's your reaction to that in terms of what's out there? Are there people driving drunk on any given night? That
if you're driving probably past 11:30, you're probably looking at a majority of people on the road that have had some alcohol. Not necessarily impaired or drunk, but have had some alcohol. And when I talk to young people, the scary cars don't work anymore. I think people are getting a little more hip to their own responsibilities. And if you couch it in terms of have a game plan, a lot of you are athletes, you play baseball, you play sports, you play basketball. Have a game plan when you go out. If you're an adult and you're going to consume beverage, have a designated driver. Have a plan. Let's say, you know what, I'm going to stay at a hotel. There's a beautiful hotel now in Armory Square. Stay the night. Is that a couple of $100? Is that worth the thousands of dollars that a DWI is going to cost you, and potentially your freedom?
Yeah. Thank you. We're going to talk about a couple other issues, including the disabled man who we've seen in the video on the Central bus. What's going on with that case? That's coming up as the Inside Justice segment continues.